everybody. Thanks for tuning in to RadioFreeRhinecliff.org and this show in particular. Correct me if I'm Norm. I'm your host, Norm. And I'm thrilled to be here tonight with my neighbor and my friend, Julie Donbroski. Did I say that right? And we were talking before we went on about what that name means and where it came from. What's the deal? You said it means bowl or something?
Well, for many years, because we had some Polish extractions, I always felt
extractions.
Well, I mean,
Dom
means home in Polish.
Home, okay.
It turns out that Lithuanian, which is what the name is a completely different language from Polish.
Okay.
I mean, Russian and Polish are very similar, oddly enough.
Uh-huh.
Lithuanian is more Nordic because the Vikings raped and pillaged all the way along Estonia, Lithuania, and Latvia.
Uh-huh.
And so we have a little bit of that kind of, it's just a completely different language than the rest of Russia.
Yeah.
Those coastal things.
Go Vikings.
So anyway, I had this Russian teacher in college, and he was Lithuanian. And he said to me, do you know what your name means? I'm like, home. And he's like, no. I'm like, home. Because I just knew. I could tell by the way he was looking at me. He said, no. He said, it means buffalo. I was like, it means home. He's like, no, it means buffalo. It means you were on the plains. Your family was on the plains, and you herded buffalo.
Well, on the plains.
And he used that
of Lithuania or Poland or wherever.
Yeah.
Huh.
So
do you believe that? Do you have a special affinity for buffalo, or here in America, bison?
No, I'm a Taurus.
Uh-huh.
I was born in the year of the bull.
Oh, nice.
We won't mention that year.
Huh.
And we also have that. So, I mean, and am I like a little bit bullish? I'm a bull in a china shop, yes.
You are a bull in a china shop.
I am considered somewhat, having bull, aggression thing. I don't know.
Aggression.
Anyway.
People think you're aggressive. I don't really think you're aggressive.
Well, no, it's so funny because I was doing a real estate deal last year. And I was dealing with some gentleman over in Hudson, and he was not calling me back. So I went into Hudson to track him down, i.e. stalk him.
Right.
This is the real estate business. And I found him, and he did the deal with me. And then he was like, well, you're very aggressive. And I said to him, if I was a man, you would never say that to me.
Oh.
And he was like, oh. And I was like, because I said, I'm just looking to get a deal done. I'm working for my people, and this is what I do for my job. And you weren't answering my phone calls, so I was going to Hudson anyway. Maybe, probably, possibly.
Camping out in front of your place of business.
Exactly. I was just wandering around that day, of course. And I just happened to wander past the houses that he had listed because I knew he had an open house. I don't know. We ran into each other.
Did you tell him about the year of the bull?
No,
I explained it all.
I actually do not.
And a Taurus.
All right, am I the kind of person that's going to give somebody ammunition?
I'll ask you questions here. Yeah.
No. Okay. Oh, that's right. Well, you could have answered that one.
Yeah, I think I could have. So, how long have you been in the real estate business?
I'm not going to say. A very long time.
Too damn long.
I've been in the real estate business longer than almost everybody that's been in the business.
And all of it around here, Rhinebeck area.
Yes. In fact, it's funny. In the early days, when I was 12, starting the business, we were doing it just in Rhinebeck, Red Hook, and the environs. Now I'm selling in Sullivan County, Putnam County, Greene County, Columbia County, Saratoga, Rensselaer. I mean, it's just like I've done deals in like 7 counties in the last couple of years.
But you're not showing people houses in like Westchester.
Oh, absolutely, I am.
But that must be.
You show me $1 million, and I am here. It's like anywhere in New York State, I will go hours. It's like, it's the game. You don't, and you never know what that's going to be. They could be looking up there, but then they might come back down here and want to, and also if I like the people, there's other elements to that. If I don't like you, I'm not going to be like traveling miles and like, so you can like abuse me and yell at me and say all these crazy things that I just can't abide and probably can't talk back to you because I'm trying to keep you as a client. What a nightmare.
Right. So have you been fired by many clients? And question number 2, have you fired many clients?
I have fired clients. I've told people to get the F out. I've literally used that terminology.
Uh-huh. But by the way, this is like cable radio,
I know, but
so you could swear if you want.
I try not, I was profane years ago when it was unpopular, but now everybody uses the F word, and I have no interest in that.
I dropped the F-bomb before the F-bomb was popular.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. When I said it years ago, it meant something.
Yeah.
Now I say it, and everybody's like, whatever. I'm just like, oh, my God, why even waste it? But
interesting. And so this brings up a little something. You seem to zig where others zag, and I think it's partly just sort of natural, but also partly sort of planned.
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Yeah, good.
You know, when I was brought up, I was not like other people. I was brought up in a small town. We won't even mention the town because we don't want to give it a stigma.
Oh, come on. It was around here, wasn't it?
It was Red Hook, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway.
People are going to be down on Red Hook.
But the bottom line is that when you are not like everybody else, the children who are the wolf pack, and they can, even if you don't have outward things, which I had many outward things that showed I was not like everybody else.
Such as?
I didn't really understand social mores. If something wasn't smart, I didn't want to do it.
Right.
So, but everybody else kind of went and fit, like, in other words, it's those lemmings that go over the cliff.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's not a good idea. Don't do that. It's not a good idea. Don't do that. And I'm like, don't do that. But of course they did it. And so I would just sit there and I don't mean, and I'm not being arrogant. I'm just saying when you think out of the box and you're not looking to conform with everybody because you can't. Because I have syndromes. I have some autism. I have other things going on, ADD, OCD, and it all works for the real estate business. I mean, I've found my niche. But when you're a child and you are not part of that wolf pack,
yeah,
they try to kill you. They aren't even just...
Kids can be so tough.
Well,
the wolf pack,
you know what's really funny?
Sharks.
The thing that I found about bullies, young and old, is that they're not very smart. They don't have any sense of themselves. They're not individuality. They have no individuality. For some reason or other, they can shout the loudest, and they have some. And I still look at that and wonder, how can somebody be a bully who's it doesn't have a lot of attributes, but can move an entire group of people? I mean, that to me is just a fascinating.
They're compensating or overcompensating for lack of other.
No, but I'm saying it's not that they are doing it; it's that other people are following them.
I see.
That's the part that I. So basically, I just sort of kind of did my thing, ignored people, kept my head down. The teachers liked me because I was a smart ass and I basically was in their face.
Oh yeah, teachers always love that.
Oh no, I was the worst. And the teachers used to pass me. Like they would come in the first day and say, that girl's a troublemaker.
Yeah.
You know, keep an eye on her because she's dangerous. That's a word that's used a lot.
Dangerous. And how do you think you were dangerous?
I wasn't like everybody else.
Right.
And when you're not like everybody else, you're dangerous. And it's weird. You have and this is another thing we've had discussions about. What makes somebody go from being an outcast weirdo to being a rock star? And they are so close, because you have somebody who thinks out of the box. They're coming up with these ideas. They're not like everybody else's, and everybody is fearful because they're not like everybody else's. But then all of a sudden, something happens. Either your looks change, your manner changes. I mean, I learned how to make whatever I am palatable for the rest of the world. So in other words, I made it so that I kept who I was, but I learned by watching people, because I didn't really understand why people, when A happened, everybody did B. When A happens, almost everybody does B. Some people do C.
Okay.
A few people do F.
Yeah.
But most of the time, and I know this is going to sound arrogant, but I've had thousands of people in my car. I own a real estate rental business. And in the rental business, as you know, Jen, people are changing their lives. They're moving to a different, strange place. They are changing their jobs. They have no real meter as to what's going on. And they're sort of like in an ocean, floating along, looking for somebody to throw them sort of a life preserver. Well, I have closets full of life preservers. I pull them out, and I say to them, this is the game. I show them the rentals, and I also talk about what the area is, what they can do, what it can do for you. I try and put them in the best place. So I don't just rent a rental. I set you up to start again.
You did that for me.
And I am an expert at that. And what does that mean? I've had so many people in the car. I've heard every story that could be heard. I've had everybody from international arms dealers, people that own their own cults, the biggest developer in Israel.
Wait,
And
people who own their own cults? You've had cult leaders like looking for rentals in Rhinebeck?
not rentals. They were looking for sales. But
Okay.
in other words, I've had the plethora of, movie stars, writers, actor, you name it. I've been in the car with them. And the truth is that when you're out with me and things are happening where your life is changing so rapidly, you don't have the ability to couch what you're saying to me. It just comes out. People cry in the car. They're hysterical. And I'm there listening to this, trying to figure out how to help them. So not only am I helping them find a place, but I'm also giving them advice because I've heard it 1,000 times. And when you're leaving somebody, believe me, it happens all the time now. Well, it always happened all the time. And there are people that have snuck around with me because they've been abused. I mean, I've seen different scenarios.
So I don't imagine this is true for all real estate agents, but mostly for you, that people open up to you.
Well, again, I'm in a unique position because think about it. After a week or two, when all these horrible things have happened, what do? You recraft the story. You recraft the story so that you can live with what's happened to you, so that people aren't looking at you as a pariah if part of it is your fault or if there are things that make you look that are humiliating. And so what you do is you're recreating, even when you're talking to me and it's all coming out, because the truth is, who am I? I'm not related to you. I'm not your friend. I seem to be a relatively intelligent person some days. And I'm trying to help you do the best I can. I had a girl that called me up, and she was a lawyer. She was moving into this town. And usually she brought her parents with her, but her parents couldn't come. And I had several rentals. She had already looked. She was kind of in a mess. She was like, can you help me find a rental? I said, get on the train. I will pick you up. I said, I'm going to show you the rental you're going to take first. It's right across from your job. And basically, we went around, looked at other rentals. She took the rental I told her to. We went out onto my deck. We had a couple glasses of champagne. Her husband had hockey injuries, and he was mentally ill for years. He had been abusing her, but he also had been trying to kill himself. He tried to kill her. And I said to her, it's okay that you're happy or fine that he's dead. It's okay. You don't he was unhappy as a person. He was miserable. He was making your life a living hell. You were all by yourself handling this. You are very brave coming here to start all over again. I said, you're on the right track. You've got a great job with a family-type business. I'm putting you in the right rental, right in the middle of town so you can meet people. She was 30 years old, by the way. She was not like an older person.
So back to my question. I mean, I don't think most people are doing this with their real estate agent.
No, they probably are, but that is what I do. I know this is it's a spiritual game here. It's not just money. Put somebody in, throw somebody in. But
what makes you the kind of person that people are more likely to open up to?
I was an outcast as a child, and I wasn't like everybody else. We're just going right back to it.
Just go around in circles. All right, back to when you were a child. You said you were an outcast. You were different from the other kids. You kept your head down and did your thing.
Well, no, I was also highly creative.
Is what you said. You kept your head down, did your thing. What was your thing?
I was highly creative. I'm artistic, and I was, I was a pretty great artist even then. And I also was very intelligent. If I weren't those things,
but that's
I wouldn't have survived.
That's just a quality. That's not necessarily a thing. Unless,
that's why when I'm saying I used to watch people and try and figure out what people wanted.
Okay.
I was also very nice, so that when people did come after me, there were other people that clued me in. That I had one girl that threatened to beat me up. And she was like, we're all going to get you with this. I didn't even know this woman. I mean, this girl was like, it was high school. Like, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
She's smoking in the freaking bathroom, and she's like threatening me. And this other girl that I was helping in homeroom, because she didn't really understand how to do things like fill out paperwork and stuff, it was one of her friends. And she said, that girl's not going to help. We're not going to help her. It's you and her. The next time she came at me, I said, go, let's do it. Do it. Come on.
And did you get in a fist fight then?
No, she walked away.
Have you ever been in a fist fight?
No, I have not been in a fist fight, but I have been stalked many times.
You ever slapped somebody?
No, stalked many times. And I did say to the police, because people were breaking into my house, and, Eric Roberts was stalking me for years.
Well, now, I, you believe he was stuck. We can't. I think we can't make.
I was sleeping in my bed, and I woke up, and he was sitting next to my bed smoking a cigarette. I had not invited him there. He was stalking me.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, not to be weird, and he would follow me.
It's not weird. It's
he would follow me. He would
slandering
follow
kind
me.
of stuff that we got to be careful about.
Okay, well, whatever.
Yes.
I'm sure he would laugh at this point because it was a long time ago, and he had issues. He doesn't have the same issues anymore.
And he used to live right here in Rhinecliff, right?
And all the police knew all about this, by the way. This is not just me. That was,
okay.
You know, this is not. This is a. Yeah, he lived a couple doors away. I barely knew him. You know, I don't really have lots of conversations with people unless I have to.
Or unless they have a front porch and you need coffee.
Well, there you go. See, and aren't you lucky?
I am so lucky.
Aren't you lucky that your food is really good and your coffee is even better?
And now here you are. So you were highly intelligent and artistic in high school. What kind of art did you do?
I painted. You know, I did collage, things like that. I was actually going to be an artist.
And you went to Bard, I believe,
I went to Bard.
to study painting.
I studied painting. But it was by the time I got there, because I had already gotten a degree from another college, by the time I got to Bard, I had already been in the real estate business, because I was very solitary. I was an only child. I was a solitary child.
Are your folks...
How could you tell?
Are your folks still around?
No, they're dead. And they were different, too. You know, I mean, like, you don't just become this way by having... You know, I mean, the people that are the belle of the ball in the neighborhood. But no, I mean, basically, I painted for years at Bard, and I was going to be an artist, but it was just, by the time I got there, it was too solitary for me. I'd been out in the world. I was becoming a social animal. You know, it took me years. I mean, I was terrified of everybody the first couple of years. And then I just sort of forced myself. And that's the one thing I've found. You can be afraid of things, but if you force yourself and you force yourself and you force yourself, after a while, it goes away. I'll never forget, I was in a taxi cab in New York City, and I was afraid of everything. Afraid of being in the city, afraid of being on the wrong train, afraid of everybody on the train. I mean, I was that person. And I remember sitting in New York City in a taxi thinking, I'm not afraid anymore. It was crazy. I had this moment. After years of forcing myself to go do these things, and
right, that can happen. That doesn't always happen.
It could if you know, again, the world does not happen to you. You happen to the world. And if you don't think that, then you are just you're gonna be like flotsam and jetsam in the sea, just being buffeted. And instead of like building a boat with all that shit and driving yourself through the ocean and being your own captain. I'm sorry. Everybody's like, oh, you have such great luck. I don't have great luck. I make my luck.
Right.
I believe good things are going to happen. I have an attitude where people see that when I walk in a room, and they believe the things that I say, and they believe that I'm honorable and straightforward and decent.
You think they see those things just when you walk into a room?
It's unconscious. I believe it's all unconscious. I don't think
that the way you carry yourself, the way you look, the way you are, the way you speak projects that to people.
I don't have any game. I mean, I've got game when I'm doing the business.
Oh, you got plenty. You got plenty of game.
Well, yeah,
but it's not. But it's not. There's no airs. One of the things that I really like about you is you were really unabashedly authentic.
Well, that's a nice thing to say.
You are who you are, and you seem to know exactly who you are, and you aggressively don't apologize for it, but you're just totally authentic.
I know a lot of people that try and be everything everybody else wants them to be, and they're miserable.
Right.
I mean, the thing that makes people happy is actually being yourself, and it is at some level having other people accept you for who you are. I mean, even though I don't care what people think, but it does hurt me when somebody is not nice to me. I'm not going to lie to you.
Sure.
But I don't spend a lot of time on it because I had a psychiatrist once, because I've had a number of psychiatrists. Yeah. And he said to me, because somebody had hurt me and they were disloyal to me, and he said, Julie, it's not about you. I was like, excuse me, it's always about me. He was like, no, it really isn't. He said, that person never even got past the fears of your situation. He never thought, how is this going to affect Julie? It never got past his arena. He said, and until you accept that, he said, you're going to be miserable.
And how old were you when this happened?
20s.
And things had happened, and you were taking it personally.
Well, yeah.
And your shrink's like, no, don't take it personally.
And I try to tell people that whenever something happens, I had a friend today that was upset because something had happened. I said, this person didn't even think about how this was gonna go in your direction, dude.
Right.
It was just a thing that it happened. They were, and I said, people follow their fears. If you have a situation and you're fearful, it's all going to be, it's all about that. It's fear and love, the two things that drive the human existence.
All right, good. Well, this is where we're going to stop and pour these cocktails you brought, which look so good. And then we're going to get back to fear and love driving all of human existence.
This was supposed to be about real estate, wasn't it?
What's that? No, it wasn't. I don't want to talk about real estate. We can. So what did you bring? Tell us what you're pouring here.
This is a new one. This is a it's Lillet, which is a French sweet wine. Fresh blood orange juice. I took rosemary and I muddled it with gin,
All right,
Japanese gin, which I prefer.
My mouth just started watering.
And so I mixed them all together into this concoction. And that's why I had to go check to make sure it was rosemary, because it was one of these things. Well, no, normally I have it in the garden. But, it just I was bad and I left it out. So I bought this thing at Adams and I'm like, it's prostrate rosemary. I don't believe it's going to kill you.
Okay, that's it. Just the one thing. What's in the other jar?
That is a Moscow Mule.
Okay.
With a very sharp ginger beer.
So what do you call this concoction?
I hope it won't kill you.
Well, cheers. Here's to it. Fear and love.
Would you guys like to take a swig out of the...
We have glasses.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah.
Please. I brought enough for everybody. God knows.
All right. Well, cheers, Julie.
Cheers.
Thank you so much one more time
Yeah.
for coming in and talking. We're just getting to the
I'll
good
be
stuff.
lucky if they don't burn me at the stake by the time we're done.
Well, that's that's the title of your autobiography.
Well, they
really.
would have done it, 150 years ago. I wouldn't.
Hey, this is yummy. Thank
good,
you.
right?
Yeah.
I think if you're going to do things, they have to be. I mean, I try to do things. I don't know if it's extraordinary, but I'm always chasing the extraordinary part.
And tell me about the times that you've found that you've caught the extraordinary.
Well, anything.
Or gotten close, or
when I was
enjoyed
when
the
I was in
chase.
the acting business, I started from ground zero, and I was not like 20 years old either. And I've got myself from ground zero, never having done anything, to in a year and a half to becoming a professional actress.
And around here, or was that out in L.A.?
I was in the city.
New York City.
Yeah, and L.A. was for fun.
And you decided that you wanted to be an actress?
I had a boyfriend that was an actor.
Uh-huh.
And while he was very pretty, he was very shy, and he was very, he knew everything, he thought.
He was a know-it-all.
He was a Vassar grad. He just was like, he was like, I'm from whatever. Anyway, I don't know if that's everybody, but I'm just saying that was his shtick.
Right.
And he was, a guy that basically had run the gamut. He was always up against Kevin Bacon, which I never understood. He didn't look anything like Kevin Bacon. But Kevin Bacon apparently was his nemesis in the acting business and took every damn part from him.
That's hilarious.
So,
what a story. Did he ever find success as an actor, this guy?
No.
But he got you into the business.
No. It was accidental. Because what happened was he came back to run his family's winery. And I met him because I got him a rental. Because, this is apparently what I do. I troll for men in my rental business.
Yeah.
And basically, he was mad at me one day. And he said, for all the reasons I didn't make it in the acting business, you would. And I was like,
Oh, well.
And it's funny. I don't really have a plan in life. I sort of come up with things. Things happen. They get in my... I believe that too many people think they only can be here and then they miss all the stuff on the way.
Yeah.
And so I really think that... I was like, I could be an actress. That could be entertaining. I could do that. So I went down into the city with a friend. And I was, now mulling over trying to figure out how to do this. I was at the Soho Kitchen. And I went to use the ladies' room, and my friend was sitting there listening to, because we're all voyeurs in my group, listening to everybody's table. And I came back, and she said, that woman is an actress next door to the next table. And so we were half listening to her thing. And I have these very odd occurrences where I have like an opportunity that happens that you wouldn't think would happen. I lost my ticket. I had my car down there. And I don't know if you know much about New York, but if you lose your ticket, it's like $100. So needless to say, I'm looking for this ticket. We're looking under the banquets. We're looking everywhere. And I was like, where is it? So I went back to the bathroom that I had figured I had it in my pocket. It was, I don't know, I'm a person that carries things around. And just as I was going to this bathroom, the door opened. And it was that woman. And she said, did you lose something? I said, are you an actress? She said, well, yes, I am. I said, who are you studying with? She said, well, I've got this great woman, Suzanne, whatever. She was a Meisner person. And she gave me Suzanne. She literally had her card in her little file. It was the days with Filofax, before everything. She literally handed me Suzanne's card. Suzanne was the big doyenne of Meisner acting. And so I walked upstairs. I've got the card. And I'm like, now I know why I lost the ticket. So here I am. I walk back in. And my friend is standing up, and I'm like ready to abandon the ticket because I got my what I needed that day. As I'm walking out, there's a podium, and there's the ticket. So I grabbed the ticket. I have the ticket. I have her number, and I walked out, and that. So I started with Suzanne, but I was not good enough. I'm sorry. I know I keep moving. I'm a mover. It's a hard thing. I'm learning how to sit still, but it'll.
Oh yeah, sure you are.
Okay, so I'm going to now make an effort to sit still. So anyway, I went to her, and she basically was like, I love you, but I can't deal with you because it would be unfair to all the people that are well-versed. She sent me to somebody else. I liked the way somebody looked in that class. I said to her, are you working with somebody else? She gave me another card. Went to that class, liked the way somebody was, said whatever, and I ended up with a woman named Penny Templeton who does on-air kind of acting. She does...
like voiceover kind of stuff?
No. Or? She does. There's a thing where you learn how to do theater, but there's also something where you learn how to do television.
Oh, I see.
You learn how to do movies, and you learn how to do the blocking. And so I ended up with her for years. But
and did you enjoy that?
No, it's the most difficult and horrible thing in the world to do.
But you did it for 2 long years.
Well, because I wanted to be good at it. And because I was heading towards, I wanted to be a movie star. I don't mean to be weird, but this is,
sure.
if I'm going to do
Lots of people do.
I know, but not everybody can, and not everybody's going to put the work in like I did. I went down for private classes. I went 2 classes, and I was like one of her things. And I went from, like I said, ground zero to being professional, And it was funny because I was in the low acting class in the beginning, and after a month, she's like, we have to put you up because you need competition. She said, I can't. She said, you're already whatever. She said, you need to learn to compete with the big boys. And so they didn't know me, and I did something from Macbeth, and I do it my way because I didn't know anything about acting. I had never seen these things done. I mean, I'd seen them, but, actors are like, oh, this is how this person, I don't know anything about this. I just did it my way. And it's so funny. I'll never forget it. It was the first professional class I'd been in. I did this thing from Macbeth. And there was just dead silence. And it was just like everybody was in shock. And then everybody went wild because it was just like it took them.
What a terrifying moment to finish and have dead silence.
It was, but then she gave me a bravo. And everybody stood up and clapped and gave me like this thing. But so the thing is that if you're going to do something, and this is just me, anything. I've had 3 antique shops. They've been interesting. You walk in, there's things hanging off the walls. It's, it's an art piece. The real estate business, I'd like to think I'm one of the best in the business. If I wasn't, I wouldn't be in the business. It's stupid for me to be dumb in something.
Right.
I do things. I'm not good at them. I'm not pursuing that. I try it for a while, and then I'm like, you know what? This is not for me.
And what are some of the things over the course of your lifetime that you've tried? You thought, oh, maybe I'll do that, and then you said, no, that's not for me.
Well, I certainly have never really been athletic. I've tried all that. What else?
It's interesting.
I'm sure there's a lot of things. A lot of them are little things. But if I can, if I'm going to make something food wise or drink, it has to be good. I'm not here to do something that's mediocre. Right. That sounds terrible, but that is how I am. And if I can't, again, there are things. I'm sure there's thousands of things that I blocked out of my mind that I was not good at. Just so you know.
Right. There you go. So back to the acting classes. 2 years. It was terrible, but you learned a lot, and it sounds like you were successful enough.
You have to take all of your dirt and you have to put it out for everybody to see. If you're good,
that's what you're doing right now.
And I would
on the radio.
sometimes. You know what? If I'm going to do this, I might as well just do it. I mean, I could play a game and talk about my real estate business and how wonderful it is and all these other things.
But did you find roles after the training?
I was actually offered a role in a scientific movie, but I had met a man, and it all went to hell in a handbasket, and that was that.
The scientific movie?
It's like a science fiction movie.
Okay.
Yeah. And he got involved with me, and it became actually an abusive relationship.
Oh, you met a man, and so you didn't do that.
I did the thing that women do that's really bad. It was so bad.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
You know what? We all have our paths.
And that was it? You, I guess, decided acting really wasn't for you at that
I may
point?
still go back to it. I haven't decided.
Oh, that's nice.
You never...
I
like opportunities.
I would come see you.
Present me with an opportunity, I'm there.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of local theater around here.
I don't know that I would do that. That seems... I don't like... this is out in the open. This is as far out in the open as I'm going to be.
Yeah.
In the big scheme of things. Like, I don't go out in the... I mean, I might go to a party here and there and things like that, but I'm not here to be out in the open.
About your hopes and dreams?
Well, I'm already here, but I mean, I'm just saying, that's not... Like, I wouldn't go into an acting thing here. That wouldn't do that.
But you would in another town or down in the city or out in L.A.?
Down in the city and out in L.A., yeah.
And you lived in L.A. for a spell?
I had a house in Malibu for 2 years. I used it as a retreat because I could not get away from the real estate business. I had a place in Brooklyn Heights, and every time anybody that called me that I thought was going to be a great client, I would drop everything and come running back up here. When I was in Malibu for 5 days, couldn't do a thing. 9 hours away, that was it. And so I would go there and chill.
Right.
And I was very lucky.
I hope so.
Well, I have always wanted to do something next to the real estate business. I've had a restaurant. I've had 3 antique shops. I was in the acting business. I painted at Bard. I did a lot of things. And one day, I realized I had not done anything interesting for a while. And I was like, what?
I find that hard to believe.
No, I mean, the real
Proceed.
estate business is like breathing. I don't mean that in a weird way, but it's not like it's a challenge in very small ways.
You've
but
been
it's
there.
Not,
You've done that.
Yeah, kind of. So all of a sudden, I was like, what have I always wanted to do? I've always wanted a house with an ocean view in Malibu. So I got on Craigslist. I put in L.A., put in Malibu. 20 minutes earlier, a house had come up on a canyon with a 180-degree ocean view. It was a little tiny round house. I called, and I'm like a crazy person. I called the owner up and left a message. She called me back 20 minutes later. She is one of the wives of one of the band members of Chicago. And she was one of the first wives, so she was not still married to him, but she's one of the queens of Malibu. She had horses, she knew everybody, she had children, she brought them up. And she and I got on the phone, and she was a bit older than me, but we started to talk for hours. She wanted to get out of Malibu. I needed to get out of Rhinebeck. She had cats and dogs. We had similar mentality. She was going to be a lawyer before she married the rock star, And she was an old rock chick. She knows everybody from Mick Jagger to Aerosmith. I mean, she's like this person. She is my dream friend. And apparently I was hers too, because we were talking for hours and we became besties right then and there. And we'd talk every few days, and I was not going there for like a month and a half. She knew me by the time I got there. Not only she knew me, all her friends knew who I was. Everybody in Malibu knew who I was, because she was talking about this girl from the East Coast, and she's crazy, and she's coming, and she's going to live in my house. And so basically I landed on her 60th, it was her 60th birthday weekend. I met everybody. And she and I danced on tables. We had the best time. She's amazing. I mean, she's brilliant. She's fun. She's crazy. Is
she still there in the roundhouse?
She isn't. She was in the mansion behind the roundhouse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we had a courtyard. I just found some of the pictures, actually. It was kind of entertaining. No, but she moved over into the back on one of the lakes, and she's got an Italianate mansion there.
Egads. That's nice. And so do you get back out there from time to time?
I have been out there on and off, but not in the obviously with COVID, not in the last few years. The last time it was probably 4 or 5 years ago, frankly.
So you rented this place for a couple of years.
I did.
And how did you decide to stop renting that and I guess come back here? Oh,
In fact, she was looking for a place with a guest house because she wanted me to move with her.
that's so sweet.
But she has a suite that I am now, whenever I can say hey. And I probably will say hey and go out there and
Nice to have a friend near the ocean.
I talk to her every New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
One of those things where I just you keep up. I don't talk to her all the time, but she's got a busy life. She's got now grandchildren and children and yeah.
And were you doing other things? Were you pursuing the acting at all while you were out there?
No. That was just I just needed to get out of my head for 5 days at a time.
Yeah.
And it was just entertaining. I'd been to California once, but I'd never had a place there. And
Sounds amazing.
It was, it's funny. It's every time I've ever gone to look for something, it's usually sitting there.
That's
like
right.
that house. The chances of that house sitting there with her, it was crazy. I mean, it was.
And now you live in Rhinebeck. Mm-hmm. Where's your primary residence here?
I have 2 houses. I have one on the main street, that's the office. Mm-hmm. And then I have one on Crystal Lake, that's around the corner. Okay. And I go back and forth.
And the one on Main Street, which is East Market Street.
Hex House, yep.
Hex House. Mm-hmm. You say that's the office.
Yes.
So that's not where your pillow is.
It is sometimes, yeah. In the winter. Uh-huh. The other house is more of a camp.
More of a camp.
Yeah, I mean it's
more sort of 3-season, not so much a winterized
really is.
place.
Yeah, I mean you could, but it's thousands of dollars just to heat it to keep it a temp.
Right.
But it's fine.
And it's on Crystal Lake.
It is.
And you have a swan boat, I believe.
Do.
You still have that?
You're killing me.
Yeah.
Just the looks on your face, you're like, this woman is out of her mind. No, I had a neighbor in the front, and he called me up, and he said, I want to buy the theater was having an auction. He's like, I want to buy a swan boat. And his friend that was with him said, why are you calling this girl and asking her? He said, because if it's crappy and whatever, she's not going to want to look at it. So I said, what exactly do you mean by a swan boat? And he told me, he said it was from the Lincoln Park Zoo. It's lucky number 7, my lucky number. And he said, Google it. So I Googled it, and I basically... first I thought it was from Boston where they had the long ones, and I was thinking I could make a dock out of that. I'm like, oh my God. But no, it was the paddle boat. I looked it up, I called him back, I'm like, get that effing boat, Larry. And he did. He paid $200 for this damn thing. And we had a party. We brought the boat in, and we had all my friends and a bunch of men and other people, and we literally lowered the boat, and we, did the champagne thing, and we've had the boat ever since. And it's a kitsch thing. It's like you have a big bathtub with a swan boat in it. It's kind of like that. It's not something you take. It's arduous to use it. Let me tell you, paddle boats are no fun.
And is it for 1 or 2 people?
2.
2. Oh, nice. Well, I'm going to come over. We'll go paddling on Crystal Lake.
Absolutely. It's going to be going back in the water any minute.
Is there a weight limit for the swan boat?
I've had some very hefty people in there, so I would think that we're fine.
Okay, good. Thank you.
I had one guy in there that came in that was from the South. One of my friends has some very wealthy men that she invites.
Wealthy and portly, I'm guessing.
Well, they're called whales. So she calls them whales.
Really? That's not very nice. I'm pretty sure that's against the rules of conduct for the station.
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. But anyway, so he was hefty, and the boat was leaning. But he made incredible steaks and bought us drinks and all kinds of other crazy things for the whole weekend, so it was fun.
It was fine that he tipped the swan boat. Have you ever tipped it over?
No, it's a real boat.
Yeah.
Like you can't, it has a trailer. It's not like you can't, you have to put the trailer in, put it on the trailer and pull it out. We tried to lift it to bring it down. That was an error in judgment on our part.
Well, I disagree. I was there. A whole bunch of us lowered it down the sort of muddy bank into the water.
No,
Easter. No, there was no trailer.
We pulled it out.
We
pulled it out and wished it out and pulled it just enough out of the water. Now I have somebody who does it professionally because it was just...
A professional swan boat lifter and lowerer.
Yes, pretty much. He has a card that says that.
I hope he does. I want to see that card. Well, so what's left undone? What adventures are top of your list?
Well, if I survive this interview, that would be
20
one.
minutes to go. If I survive, can I have another cocktail?
You can. Would you like to try the other one?
Yeah, heck yeah.
Go ahead.
And tell us what this other one is.
That's a Moscow Mule
And what
with a
goes-
very hot, heavy ginger push, and it's got also Japanese vodka in it, and because I prefer the Japanese,
How come?
it's just better. The whiskey's everything's smoother.
All the Japanese spirits. Boy, this is good. What is that, ginger beer?
Ginger beer, just only Fever Tree. The other ones are garbage, and then lime juice, fresh lime juice.
Ginger beer, lime juice, and Japanese vodka.
Yes.
Well, cheers.
Cheers.
Again.
I was gonna say I don't drink that much, so. That's what
Yeah.
it is. I make drinks for people.
Well, and thank you so much for making these drinks for us and bringing them in.
If you guys want to try, please. Oh, you are? Okay.
So back to the question. If you survive this interview, what?
Well, I shouldn't say that. If I survive people trying to kill me after the interview. Yeah.
Oh, please. We have like 12 listeners.
Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you, in this small town,
That's
everything
enough.
about me goes through the town like wildfire. So
Why do you think that is?
I'm a single woman.
Uh-huh.
I have two houses that are a few blocks from each other.
Right.
I drive older cars. I dress in, not lately because I've been kind of like dressing down, but I dress in ways that people have found different for a country real estate broker.
Really? I've known you for a number of years. I've never
You know,
sort
it
of
used to
noticed
be much
you
more over the
dressing.
top. Oh, look
Okay.
at her. She's nodding.
Oh, somebody knows.
Yeah, no.
Oh,
I used to
we'll talk
wear
about
like
that
mini
later.
skirts, high-heeled, pointy-toed shoes, veils,
Really?
hats. Oh yeah, it was a spectacle.
And
Yeah, anything and everything that I
White
thought
cowboy
was
boots, she
interesting,
says.
and it didn't matter whether it was in style or not at that moment. That's
Yeah.
the part that was entertaining.
it's funny. What was the woman's name in that song, Harper Valley PTA, where the woman dressed, her skirts were too high and all
I mean,
this.
if you're not,
So, how long have you been in Rhinebeck?
a very long time.
5 years?
Oh please,
Yeah, I'm baiting you.
I know you are.
30 years?
Maybe not that long, but
And you've I'm guessing. I mean, I didn't know
Remember,
you.
I
when you-
started the real estate business when I was 12.
I didn't know you when you were dressing like Nancy Sinatra. But I got a hunch that you've always been the same way. Like this, how you are personality-wise. So how has that been? I mean, you've been here a long, long time. Sort of an insider sort of length of time. And yet you seem to fancy yourself an outsider.
I'm not sure if I would use that term. Well, yeah, that would be the word I would use.
Well, tell me.
That's a good question.
the
I mean, I
question- the
consider
question
myself
is-
to be eccentric, but that would be a word people would use. That would be the nice word people would use.
How do you define eccentric?
Again, I don't live the way other people live. I don't dress
Right.
the way other people. I've never been married, which I'm going to tell you, single business women, it's a tricky game, especially in a small town like this, because everybody is riveted by what you do. If you drive a new car, you whatever.
Oh, right.
And I'll be honest with you, I have had people come up to me and say, everybody's talking about you. It was a dinner party. Like everybody was talking about you. Something, I don't know what I would have done that would have created that at that moment. And I said, honestly, if they stop talking about me, either I'm dead or I'm boring.
Yeah.
And I said, I'd rather not be either.
It's like that old saying, the only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about.
And it's funny because yes, you can talk about the things that I do that everybody seems to think are a little bit different. But you can also look at the crazy rumors that have gone on over the years.
Oh, let's hear some of them.
Oh, God.
Crazier the better.
That I was a
names.
coke addict. I've never done coke. Never in my life.
And let me just say this. You are a very energetic personality.
Right. And so they assume.
And sometimes
Of course,
too
they
loud for the
assume. It's gonna be
veranda
wavering all the
at
time.
7 a.m. So
Yeah, I
so I
get
can
it.
see why people would say that,
I wake
especially
up.
in the...
I wake up. I don't have one of those moments where I'm like, oh, I'm like up.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the way it is. But also, people were banging on the door at 7:00 in the morning, and I would literally
That's
let them in. I'd
that's
have
no
coffee
good.
made. I'd give them coffee, and I'd go get my clothes on.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I've lived the business in the business in my life. Like my life and my business are like this. They are together. They're like yin and yang.
Well, but also I imagine you're the same person everywhere. Whether you're doing a deal with somebody or,
Right.
out.
Well, I mean, it's too much effort. I could spend my life trying to alter all of the things, the loudness, all the crazy stuff that goes on, and I wouldn't be looking around, seeing nature, observing people, having a good time, spending time making food. I could spend my life just keeping myself contained.
No, you couldn't.
No, I could. I have that. Oh, no.
I can't even imagine
You're absolutely
keeping
wrong.
yourself contained.
No, I have a strength of will that is beyond.
You're a force of nature,
I know,
my friend.
but that's why
You're
I
not-
have a strength of will that is beyond what you can even
When's
imagine.
the last time you really worked hard to keep yourself contained?
Right now.
Oh, snap. Walked right into that one. We should just close down the interview after that, because that was a great line. When else? I mean, and when I say it with all admiration.
So here's the thing. Like I said, if you listen to the rhetoric that goes on, I mean, there were always the stories of the crazy.
All right, the rhetoric. Let's hear.
Movie star that I obviously made a wrong name, but whatever, because we don't want to get slandered or sued. But anyway, I've had crazy things like that happen my entire life. I go to empty houses with strange people. I've been stalked. I've had people that have. They've gone around saying I was a porn star. That was interesting.
Yeah, a coke fiend.
Oh, you've
porn
heard that
star.
one.
Really?
Yes.
No. At least somebody here in the studio has heard that one.
Absolutely. No, and it's funny. I traced it back to a local pharmacist twice over the years.
Oh my God! All right. Well, now I got to ask, what was the name of your first pet? Did you ever have a pet growing up?
Balthazar.
Balthazar. And what was the name of the street you grew up on?
Aspinwall.
What?
Aspinwall.
Aspinwall. So
As in Lord.
Balthazar Aspinwall would be your porn star name.
That's great.
According to that equation.
So it gets better. So then,
no, it doesn't. Nothing gets better than that porn star name.
Well, here's the thing. Botstein's nephew and I became friends. He was going to be a doctor, and he came here to finish up his undergrad.
Name names again. This is.
I can't name his name.
I don't know. I'm sure you can.
Matthew.
Depends
Anyway, Matthew and I became
depends where
friends.
the story's going.
Well, we became friends, and I'll never forget it. He was sitting at my house having tea, and he's like, "Can I ask you a question?" I was like, "Sure." He's like, "You won't get mad." I said,
I don't know.
Probably no, and nothing makes me. I mean, it takes a lot to get me mad.
Oh well. Challenge accepted. 12 minutes left. Go on.
Oh, whatever. Yeah, see how that plays out, buddy. He's like, "Are you a madam?" I was like, "What?" He's like, "Are you a madam?" I was like, "You were looking for women last week. Don't you think I would have fixed you up?"
Yeah, and taken 10% or 50%
And I said,
or whatever.
Some woman who was suburban looking was in the CVS. And he happened to mention that he was my friend because I had a restaurant across the street at the time. He said, "Oh, she's a madam." And I said to him, "Let's put a business plan together and see if this could work."
Well, are there places like that in Rhinebeck? There must be.
Oh, no, actually,
really.
it was around the time when Spitzer.
Oh, geez.
And apparently there were rumors that I was the one. That's my guess. This is just because I had to put two and two together, that I was the one that was running the ring. And obviously, but this is the thing. You're a woman who has of a certain means, right? You're out there working. You have all these businesses. And yet somebody had to tell him that the only way I made money was by being a madam. And I'm like, that's really insulting. And not the madam part, because that's entertaining. But you look at this stuff and you say, what are the craziest things that somebody could say about somebody in town? Well, it's not like, oh, she sleeps around, or, oh, she's underneath the bar drunk. No, she's a stripper, a coke addict, a porn star, and a madam. Yeah.
Oh my God! Had I only known, I would have been
honestly,
much nicer to you.
People are like, "You must be angry." I said, "It's wildly entertaining that people could come up with this stuff."
Yeah.
Because, and I will say this: when I was in the acting business, you stand in front of people and they tell you who you are. The first thing somebody came up with was sex. Sexy, sexual. And then I'm like,
oh,
really?
I'm not sure I would like that. People telling me, like,
you know what?
Here's who you are.
What is.
Yeah.
And the truth is,
I guess you gotta understand
I've had
that.
to maneuver a world of men. And I don't play that card. That's not my card. Even in the acting business, that's not my car. I'm not interested in that. I mean, you can say I look like that, but don't pull anything out in front of me because that is not going to work for me.
Right.
You know.
So how has this affected you? You've been in town for a number of years. Mm-hmm. You've heard, I'm guessing, the entire time what people are whispering about you.
Oh, they don't whisper. They shout, buddy.
Right, what they're shouting about you in the aisles of CVS.
Right.
How do you deal with that?
I don't care.
That's a good way to deal with it.
I mean, I just don't care.
Yeah.
And you asked me a question. You said, well, I'm going to ask people who hate you. I said, people don't hate me. I said, they fear me because I'm considered to be dangerous.
Right.
And I had one guy who I would not have thought he would have been this erudite, but he did say something to me that was entertaining once. He said, everybody knows everything about you. Everybody knows nothing about you.
I'll concur.
Well, I'm just saying that, and do I have a level of, I want to use, and this is an arrogant word, mystique? Yes. But,
sure, why not? And I guess you enjoy that.
The only things that are important in life, having a beautiful life, and that doesn't mean spending money. That means being surrounded by beautiful things. It could be things that you pull out of the woods. I picked up a gorgeous table on the side of the road the other day. And I have an eye because I've had 3 antique shops. Good food, good friends. These are the things that matter. Nothing else matters. Money, and believe me, I deal with people who have money. They are miserable creatures. It's sad. Not everybody.
Not everybody.
I mean, and not having enough money certainly makes you miserable.
Yeah, or obsessed with having enough.
That is not the. I mean, there are just certain things, and it's just dumb things. It's your everyday life of being able to walk outside and see the sunlight and go into the woods or go into the ocean or whatever it is that you can do. Buy some flowers for yourself, something like that.
Right. So those things, all these beautiful things. You put a lot of those on one of your several Instagram pages. One of them's, what's it called? French Evolution. Right.
I have American Evolution, too, which is the Hudson Valley.
I've never seen that. But French Evolution, which I follow, it's gorgeous. There's so many beautiful things. You're shrugging at me.
No. I mean, I have people from all over the world that DM me, that talk to me, every day, all day long.
You've got thousands of followers.
I have 13,000 followers, yes.
Yeah. And do you know the exact number? 13,546.
And there are a lot of people that like my stuff, and they must get a ding every time my thing comes up because they're right on top of it. And, I have a garden blog called The Jardinista. I have a spiritual blog called Spiritual Renegade.
Good name, Jardinista. Another good name, Spiritual Renegade.
Morocco, my dog has a Morocco, a.k.a. Momo.
Oh, that dog.
Oh, my God. And she's delicious.
Have you fixed your will yet? So if anything, God forbid, happens to you, that dog comes to me?
I talked to a friend about that, and she's like, is he kidding?
Really?
Said, they're not going to fight over my money, my furniture. They're going to fight over that damn dog. No offense.
Dog is so sweet.
She's delicious.
So gorgeous.
The sweetest. And she's a Jack Russell, by the way. Let me tell you, having a Jack Russell that is mild-mannered. She's been bred by vets, so she's a special dog. But she was meant to be mine. So you told somebody I asked that before, and they were aghast? They were annoyed. They were like, she's going to be mine. I'm like thinking, you and everybody else. You're going to have to draw lots, man.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I'll outlive you all.
Well, did your friend have you on their sort of radio interview show?
Okay. Well, if you make me famous again, that would be great.
Famous again.
Or infamous, the word, maybe.
Well, you already are that. When were you famous before?
No, I just like to think I'm famous, that's all.
I say, make me famous again, but I love that sentence. Very telling, calling Dr. Freud. So people say these things. You've been aware of it for all these years. Have there been things you've heard that really have stuck in your craw and bothered you?
I get upset for like a day. I rant and I rave by myself. Because I don't really want people to see that. Because obviously, when you're crazy, you don't want people to actually
see you being crazy.
Exactly. Well, not the overt.
But nobody wants people to see them being crazy.
Oh, there are a lot of people that go out there and make a big scene. They want to be a victim. I'm sorry. I don't mean that in a mean way. But there are people that's their moniker. That is their identity. And honestly, the last thing in the world that I want to be is a victim. I'm sorry. And I think, unfortunately, and this is going to sound, it's very controversial.
Oh, God.
Oh, no, it's not going to be necessarily that good. I mean, a lot of women put themselves in that role of being a victim. And I don't, I've never gotten ahead because men won't let me or people won't let me. I've never gotten, what I've needed. The world is against me. I'm number 2 in the world as opposed to, being behind men. And honestly, I've never found that. I've never had that happen. People have come at me and tried to stop me from doing things, and I just basically say, please get out of the way. And if they don't, I knock them down and I walk over them.
Good.
Well, I mean, it is and it isn't. Is that the way? I shouldn't have to do that. Nobody should be coming up and saying you can't do that when they have no business telling me.
People should be nice and respectful to each other for sure, but that doesn't always happen.
I do make a look around to try and figure out how things are going to affect people. I don't just steamroller over everybody and take everything. I'm like, how is this going to? I mean, I do. I look at the waves. I look at how is it going to affect the people here and then here and then here, and then if it's just going to cause a little bit of a ripple, I'll do it. But it's but people want to get involved in other people's stuff, and I've never understood that.
Well, you must have a theory. Why do people want to get involved in other people's
because
stuff?
They have no power in their own personal lives.
There you go. So you have always understood why people do that.
Well, yeah.
I never understood why people do that. But, I mean, that's really it. I totally agree.
I don't understand why people don't have power in their own personal lives. That's my...
Well, you were just saying lots of people like to be a victim. I mean, you can't sort of be a victim and have...
Again, as a woman in business by myself my entire life and having to handle my life, which is not some small little thing. I've got houses, animals, people, friends, life. Whenever somebody's having a crisis, they call me. It's very hard because you have to have the gumption to just do it, And I find a lot of people, like I said, let their fears and love of other people stop them from doing things. It's hard.
Yeah,
life.
It's tough.
Yep.
But you do. I love this word gumption because you are packed with gumption.
It might explode out of me someday.
Yeah.
And then it might be the end,
I guess, not a bad way to go in a spectacular display of explosive gumption.
Mm. Are we done?
I think that's the place to end, really.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming.
It's been entertaining. Let's see. We'll see how the fallout is. It could be as big as the nuclear situations that are coming out of Ukraine.
I don't think so. But who knows? We have a number of visitors.
Mainly rentals, everybody. I need rentals, and I'm the best in the business.
My guest has been Julie
Rhinebeck Real Estate.
Donbroski.
I'm really good at getting you your house.
Who's found rentals for 2 people in this tiny booth, the nook at the Epicurian.
Well, here's the thing. I had people that were at a trivia game in Red Hook. There were 10 people at that table. Everybody had gotten a rental from me. It was, I put in half the town. I really did.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what a wonderful service. I mean, you got me this house. I brought the kids. They saw it. They're like, okay, yeah, great.
You were coming from vacation that day.
Yeah, we were coming from Cape Cod. And it was a house to have my kids in half of the time. And that's just the greatest gift. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And thank you for coming here. And thanks for being you. And everybody have a wonderful Friday night. Thanks for tuning in.
Happy weekend, everybody.
Have a good weekend. Bye.